I always thought the most dangerous thing a person could hide in your house was a camera, but my blood ran completely cold when I realized the white noise machine in my newborn son's nursery hadn't been playing rain sounds for 3 years. It was broadcasting a live, encrypted multi-million-dollar auction of my entire life. Hey Reddit, I'm posting this from a secured location because exactly 72 hours ago, my reality didn't just break. It was completely executed by the people I trusted most. My name is Caleb. Until last Tuesday, if you saw me walking down the streets of Boston, you'd think I was just another exhausted, broke guy trying to survive. I worked a low-paying, remote tech support job making about $34,000 a year. I wore clothes with holes in them, drove a rusted 2010 Ford Focus that shook every time I hit 40 miles per hour, and lived in a damp, cramped basement apartment with my wife, Elena, and our 3-year-old son, Toby. We've been married for 6 years, and for the last 3 of those years, our home felt less like a sanctuary and more like a psychological trap. Elena hated our budget. She constantly clowned me for my failures. Every single dinner was a screaming match about how her sister's husband was an elite Wall Street broker buying luxury penthouses, while I couldn't even afford to take her to a decent restaurant. I felt like an absolute failure, honestly. I loved her, so I tolerated the verbal abuse. I skipped my own lunches, took triple shifts, and spent 16 hours a day breathing in the toxic stress of our financial gridlock just to keep a roof over our heads. But 4 months ago, the atmosphere shifted. Elena suddenly stopped complaining about the money. In fact, she stopped caring if I even came home from my night shifts. That's when the unexplained absences started. She would leave the apartment at 9 p.m. for a girls' night and return at 4 a.m., smelling of high-end French perfume that cost more than my entire monthly paycheck. Whenever I asked her about it, she just whispered a vague, chilling excuse, glancing away from my eyes. A fatal anxiety took over my body every time her phone buzzed in the dark with encrypted notifications. She kept her screen face down, locked with a new passcode I wasn't allowed to know. Trust is everything when you have a kid, right? But deep down, the air in our tiny apartment became suffocating. Then came the first major clue. It was a freezing, rainy Thursday afternoon. Elena was out, supposedly at a doctor's appointment. I was in the nursery, watching little Toby sleep. The room was freezing because our landlord refused to fix the heating. I went to adjust the small white noise machine on Toby's nightstand, a cheap plastic device Elena had brought home 3 years ago to help him sleep. As I picked it up, I noticed it felt unusually heavy, way too heavy for hollow plastic. And when I turned the volume knob to turn it off, the rain sound stopped, but a tiny internal blue light kept blinking inside the plastic casing. My hands started shaking. I grabbed a screwdriver from my kitchen drawer and forced the plastic shell open. It wasn't a speaker inside. Wired directly into the power board was a military-grade, high-frequency audio transmitter, a hidden GPS microchip, and a tiny cellular data card. It was a chilling discovery. My heart hammered against my ribs. Why was our apartment bugged? Why was someone monitoring my son's nursery? What was Elena tracking? Was she afraid I would find out about her cheating? Or worse, was she using this device to know my exact schedule so she could bring someone into my home while I was sweeping floors at work? Instead of confronting her and blowing my cover, I decided to play her own game. I left the device exactly where it was. I took a bus downtown to a public library and logged into our old shared family cloud drive from a public computer. Elena had forgotten that her phone's automated backup was still linked to our old, cracked tablet account. That's when the forbidden truth smashed into my face. The drive was packed with synced audio files recorded straight from that nursery machine, along with explicit text messages. They were from a man named Julian, a wealthy, elite real estate tycoon who owned half the luxury buildings downtown. The messages were cold, blooded, disgusting, and completely heartbreaking. But one specific audio log caught my attention. I plugged in my headphones, and Julian's arrogant voice echoed in my ears. "Is the loser husband still stuck at his tech desk?" And my wife Elena's laughter followed, sharp and mocking. "Yes, the idiot is working a double shift right now. The tracker shows he hasn't moved from the office. Come over, the house is clear. He actually thinks I'm volunteering at the church." My entire world shattered into a million pieces. She wasn't just destroying our marriage. She was using our son's bedroom and my absolute misery as a joke to entertain her wealthy lover. But as I sat there in that dim library, staring at the glowing screen, a cold, dark smile crept across my face. Because Elena and Julian had absolutely no idea who they were actually messing with. They thought they were robbing a pathetic, broke man of his dignity. They didn't know the forbidden truth about my real identity. You see, everyone in Boston knows me as Caleb, the struggling tech worker. But my legal name is Caleb Vance III. Yes, that Vance family. My grandfather founded Vance Global Securities, one of the most powerful private equity firms on Wall Street. When he tragically passed away 5 years ago, he left me a sole inheritance worth approximately $1.4 billion. But my grandfather was a deeply cynical man who hated gold diggers and fake friends. His will contained one strict, unbreakable condition. I could not inherit or touch a single cent of that wealth until my 31st birthday, or until I had completed 5 consecutive years of marriage to a woman who loved me for my soul, completely unaware of my billionaire status. He wanted me to experience real humanity and struggle before handing over the keys to an empire. My 31st birthday and our 5th wedding anniversary was exactly 48 hours away. For 5 long years, I lived like a beggar. I wore shoes with holes, starved myself, and took insults from managers to test the woman I thought was my soulmate. I'd already planned the grand reveal for our anniversary. I had already purchased a massive $20 million private estate in Miami, hired top international lawyers to secure our future, and drafted paperwork to transfer $50 million directly into Elena's personal bank account as a reward for her loyalty through the hard times. But she couldn't hold on for 2 more days. She chose a flashy real estate agent over a man she thought was broke. The financial gridlock I had pretended to live in was about to end with a vengeance. I didn't rush home. I didn't scream. I used a private burner phone to contact my family's multi-million-dollar corporate law firm downtown. I handed them every single text, the audio files from the hidden nursery tracker, and the undeniable proof of her infidelity. Because our state has strict fault-based legal precedents regarding marital fraud, her actions ensured she would leave with absolutely zero alimony. On the morning of our 5th anniversary, my 31st birthday, Elena was packing a small bag, pretending she had an early shift at her job. She didn't even look at me. She didn't wish me a happy birthday. "Elena, wait," I said calmly, sitting on our worn-out plastic kitchen chair. "I know about the transmitter inside Toby's room, and I know about Julian." She froze. The color instantly drained from her face. She dropped her designer purse, her hands trembling violently. She tried to stammer a pathetic lie. "Caleb, it's not what it looks like. Julian was just helping me with a new apartment lease. You never provide enough for us. I was lonely." "I know," I replied, my voice dangerously quiet. "You wanted a man with real power, right? You wanted luxury." Right at that exact second, the heavy wooden door of our basement apartment was violently kicked open by 2 tall men in tailored charcoal suits, my family's private executive protection. Behind them walked my primary estate trustee, holding a sleek carbon fiber briefcase. They stepped into the messy, small room, completely ignoring the grime. The trustee bowed deeply to me and said, "Happy 31st birthday, Mr. Vance. The ancestral trust restrictions have officially expired as of 9 a.m. today. Your accounts are fully active. The board awaits your command." Elena's eyes went completely wide. "Mr. Vance? Trust? What is this joke? My lawyer stepped forward, pulled out a certified stamped document from the Federal Reserve, and laid it on our greasy kitchen table. The liquid balance on the top sheet read $1,412,980,000. Elena, I said, my voice sending a chilling echo through the suffocating room. Meet my real self. I'm a billionaire. This entire broke life was a test. Today was the day I was going to hand you the keys to a $20 million estate. It was all supposed to be yours today. She stared at the numbers, then at the security team, then at me. She literally dropped to her knees on the dirty floor, sobbing, grabbing my worn-out boots, saying that she made a mistake, that she loved me, that Julian forced her into it. It's too late, I said, pulling my foot away. My lawyer handed her the immediate eviction and divorce papers. That was 3 days ago. I moved my son Toby into a high-end luxury penthouse suite under 24-hour armed guard. Elena was completely broke, evicted, and disgraced. It felt like a perfect, clean victory. The parasite was out of my life. But last night, something happened that completely destroyed my peace of mind. My private tech team officially decrypted the internal manufacturing database of that tiny tracker I found inside the white noise machine. They wanted to see the exact date Julian had purchased the hardware subscription. But when the data logs flashed on my screen, my blood ran completely cold. Julian had only bought his tracking subscription 4 months ago. However, the hardware chip embedded inside that specific device showed it had been hardwired, broadcasting and streaming live audio of my entire life. For 5 consecutive years, long before Julian ever met Elena, long before we even rented that cheap basement apartment, Julian didn't plant that device to hide an affair. Someone else had placed it there the exact day I signed my wedding certificate 5 years ago. Someone knew my real identity from day one and was waiting for me to fail the test. And right as I was processing this, the cheap burner phone I confiscated from Elena's things buzzed in my pocket. A new text from an unknown, encrypted number appeared. The text read, "The real estate agent played his part well, didn't he, Caleb? But he was just an employee. If you want the real proof of who built your cage, come to the old Vance warehouse on Pier 42. Come alone, or the next text goes to the press, and your grandfather's entire legacy ends." I was trapped in a suffocating gridlock of information. Every instinct told me this was a fatal trap, but I couldn't live with a shadow hanging over my son's life. I didn't tell my security team. I didn't call my corporate lawyers. I slipped past my guards using the service elevator, stepping out into the freezing rain. The old warehouse on Pier 42 was a decaying, abandoned brick building that used to belong to my grandfather's old logistics company. It was dark, covered in fog, and surrounded by rust. I pushed the heavy iron door open. It creaked loudly, the sound echoing through the vast, empty space. "I'm here," I shouted, my flashlight glancing off old wooden crates. "Show yourself." No answer, only the chilling sound of freezing water dripping from the ceiling. I walked deeper into the darkness. Then, at the far end of the warehouse, a single spotlight snapped on, blinding me. Underneath the light sat 2 steel chairs. Bound to one of the chairs, covered in bruises and weeping hysterically, was my ex-wife, Elena. And standing behind her, holding a sleek briefcase and a syringe, was a figure stepping out of the shadows. My breath caught in my throat. My body went completely numb as I stared at the face of the true mastermind. It wasn't a corporate rival. It wasn't Julian. It was Victor, Elena's corporate lawyer brother-in-law. The exact same man Elena always compared me to. The man who owned the mansions and handled our family's minor legal paperwork. "Victor," I gasped, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. You engineered this?" Victor let out a sharp, mocking laugh that sent chills straight down my spine. "Oh, Caleb, your grandfather was a brilliant billionaire, but he was incredibly careless. My law firm handled your grandfather's secret will 6 years ago. I was the one who read the forbidden clause about the 5-year poverty test. Elena looked up at me, her face swollen from crying, her voice cracking. Caleb, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know you were a billionaire. Victor came to me 2 years ago. He said he found a wealthy tycoon who could give us a free luxury apartment if I just provided information on your daily schedule. He told me you were a useless failure who would leave us starving. Victor stepped forward, his expensive leather shoes clicking sharply against the cold concrete floor. Shut up, Elena. You greedy little parasite. You didn't need any forcing. You jumped into Julian's bed the second he showed you a designer bag. Victor turned back to me, a predatory glint in his eyes. You see, Caleb, the Vance family trust had a hidden secondary clause. If you failed the test, or if you died before your 31st birthday without a legal heir, the entire $1.4 billion empire would be liquidated and distributed to the managing legal executors, which means my firm. My mind rushed back through the past 5 years, the constant tracking, the unexplained stress, the terrifying arguments. It wasn't just a test from my grandfather. Victor had woven that tracking device into the nursery the day my son was born. He used Julian to lure Elena, knowing the financial gridlock would break our marriage, forcing me to fail the test or commit a desperate act. But you surprised me, Caleb, Victor whispered, his voice turning razor sharp. You actually endured it. You survived until your 31st birthday, but it doesn't matter. Yesterday, you moved $100 million of untraceable liquidity into an unlisted offshore account before your main assets were fully integrated. I want the access codes to that $100 million. Hand them over, or Elena dies right here, and I ensure your son Toby is next. I stood there under the dim spotlight, trapped between Victor's multi-million-dollar execution of greed and my own survival. Elena was sobbing, begging me to save her, the same woman who had mocked my tears while I was starving to provide for her. But Victor made one fatal mistake. He completely forgot that I am a tech expert. A slow, cold smile crept onto my face. The terror that had taken over my body suddenly vanished. You really think you've won, Victor? My voice boomed, echoing through the empty warehouse. You spent 5 years tracking my movements and monitoring my life, but you don't know jack about the Vance family. I casually reached into my jacket pocket. Victor immediately took a step back, reaching under his coat as if he had a weapon. But I didn't pull a gun. I pulled out the exact same cheap burner phone I found in Toby's toy box. Did you honestly think I came here alone? I asked, holding up the screen. It wasn't dark. It showed a live, active audio transmission. I didn't use my personal phone, Victor. I used the exact same encrypted tracker network your firm kept active for 5 years. Marcus, my chief of security, has been listening to every single word you just said for the last 10 minutes. My legal team already has your financial records, and more importantly, the FBI has your full live confession. Victor's face instantly drained of color. The smug arrogance in his eyes shattered into pure panic. You're bluffing. The signal jammer in this warehouse is on. This burner phone doesn't run on standard cellular data, Victor. My grandfather built Vance Global Securities on a private military satellite frequency to keep company trade secrets safe. Your cheap jammer can't touch it, I said, taking a step toward him. Right at that exact second, the heavy iron doors of the warehouse were violently blown open. Flashlights blinded the room. FBI, nobody move! Drop the weapon! A tactical team shouted as over 20 heavily armed agents swarmed the space. Marcus rushed in like a lightning bolt, tackling Victor to the ground, stripping him of the briefcase and the syringe. Elena was quickly untied. She threw herself at my feet, weeping hysterically. Caleb, please, forgive me. We can be a family again. We have billions now. I looked down at her with absolute disgust. Elena, You chose a flashy tycoon and a corrupt lawyer over a man who went hungry to provide for you. You hated Caleb the technician, so you don't get to touch Caleb the billionaire. Get her out of my sight." The police dragged both Victor and Elena out into the freezing rain in handcuffs. They are facing federal charges of medical fraud, conspiracy, and corporate extortion. They will spend the rest of their miserable lives behind bars. That all happened this morning. My son Toby is now safe and sound in a high-security private medical suite under 24-hour armed guard. Victor's law firm is completely ruined. Elena is publicly disgraced and broke. And my grandfather's entire empire is officially in my hands. It is a complete, final, and absolute justice. Greed has been executed. My son is safe, and I passed the 5-year test. The story is completely finished here. The traitors got their punishment, and the truth won. I got my dignity and my wealth back. But before I go, I need a little help from you guys. Dealing with this massive corporate landscape has taught me one thing: sharks never swim alone. If you want me to keep bringing you these insane corporate scandals, real-life Reddit thrillers, and inside stories of the Vance Empire's next moves, I need you in my corner. If you loved seeing a regular guy win this absolute chess game against elite greed, smash that like button right now. Follow and subscribe to this channel immediately so you never miss another high-stakes thriller. Share this video with your friends to show them exactly what happens when greed catches up to you. Drop a comment below. Did I do the right thing by leaving Elena with absolutely nothing? I read every single comment myself. Stay safe, stay sharp. I'll see you in the next story. The game is over.